standing, we'll do the pledge.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you, dear Lord, for letting us gather here this morning. Dear Lord, we just pray that you watch over us as a group and let us make the best decisions that we can for citizens of Limestone County. Dear Lord, we just pray that you watch over our country. Dear Lord, we just thank you for everything that you do. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, for the record, let's reflect that all of Americans are present. This time do we have any citizens comment?
Yes.
All right, we'll move over to item number 6, and that's going to be our consent agenda. I trust you've had time to look at that, and we'll open it up for discussions and or a motion.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Let's go to our regular agenda now. I did go ahead and enact a burn ban. Matt, how are we looking on that at this point?
Still doing one up, Judge. Because it's rain in a couple of days, we'll wait and see.
Okay. If it goes up, the numbers continue to go up. If we get some rain and it gets down there, if it's okay with y'all, we may take it off for a while. But we'll wait to get those numbers. Okay, we'll pass that out. Let's go ahead and go to item number 8. Let's consider an order authorizing the issuance of a sale of Limestone County, Texas Certificate of Obligation Series 2021, levying an annual alarm tax, providing for the security for and payment of said certificate, providing an effective date, and enacting other provisions relating to this subject. I'll ask Jason to kind of get us up to date on that.
Okay. Judge, Commissioners, good morning. What's being passed around is a summary of the sale that we undertook, so I'll make sure everyone has that before I go into it. So as you recall, what we were looking at is refunding the 2009 bonds, of which the TFC board obviously just met. Those bonds carry rates anywhere ranging from 5.5 to 5.75%. So what we did is we went out and we solicited banks. We put out a term sheet and a bid form and asked banks to send us back their best bid, i.e. the lowest interest rate, and within a certain number of parameters. So as far as the structure, as far as a call feature, things of those nature. So as you can see there, the best bid, or again, the lowest interest rate, came back from TIB at a 1.49%. So again, you're taking 5.5% debt and greater and lowering it down to 1.49%. The other nice thing there is you see you've got 5 bids. They're all very close. But if you go to that far right-hand column, that call provision, that anytime, all that simply means is you, the county, if you choose to pay off all or a portion of the COs early, can do so. And there's no penalty to doing it. So you're going, as I'll go through in just a second, you're actually shortening the debt by a year. But again, then you can pay it off and you can continue to pay it off. So if you have additional tax revenues that come in, things of that nature, you can pay that debt off at your choosing. What we're asking for your approval is $6,675,000. So that's the final par amount of the certificates of obligation. It is a 9-year repayment. And then you see there down below the debt service payments, which are fixed. So subject to your approval here, that interest rate is set for the life of the certificates of obligation. It will not change. Your payments are in those middle columns there under Series 2021 COs, principal and interest, that net total. So as you can see, you're going from about almost $1.3 million down to about $800,000. So it's going to be savings. And as you can see on the far right-hand side, those gross savings, you have no payments until November 1st, 2022. So you actually have all the full year worth of savings in FY 2022. And then you can see there again, about $480,000 of debt service savings a year. And then we are actually amortizing the COs for 1 year shorter than the current debt. And so you see you have a significant savings in 2032 as well. Now, if you recall, one of the things that we talked about is the county has funds on hand that you're actually going to contribute So you see there, $3,650,000 will be contributed. The nice thing about that is that buys down the amount of COs that you have to issue. Said another way, you're issuing less debt, right? So you're using those funds, you're paying off your debt sooner, you're issuing less debt. And then the other nice thing is, if you recall, whenever the 2009 bonds were issued, you had a debt service reserve fund that was set aside to protect bondholders in the event that the county couldn't make its payments to the PFC in order to make that payment. Since you don't need a debt service reserve fund on your COs, we're contributing that. So again, that's buying down the amount of COs that you have to issue. So that's why, again, we're asking for your approval of $6,675,000. The good thing is too, we'll close these on October 27th. The PFC bonds are only callable on an interest payment date. The next payment date is 11/1. So we'll have this done in time to where we can take out all of those bonds, and again, lower that interest rate down and keep the new payments. So very happy with that. Judge Duncan, thank you so much. Judge Duncan had to write several tomes, the responses to questions from banks. There was a lot of banks that, generally speaking, whenever they look at these and they see jail, they get nervous. And so Judge Duncan spent a lot of time providing good information. I spent a lot of time on the phone with different banks explaining why the county has made every single payment since 2009 on these. This is something that's in their annual budget. This is actually a stronger credit than what's the bonds that are out there now. So thank you very much. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Well, I will say that I was hoping for something less than 2. I think you originally showed us somewhere around a 2.5.
Yes, sir.
When we were making projections.
Yes, sir.
And I was hoping that we would get somewhere into the 1.8 range. So we get 1.49 is very good for the citizens of Limestone County. Frankly, we're going from a 5.75% interest rate on basically $11 million.
Yes, sir.
To a 1.49% on a little over $6 million, 6.6 million. So a lot better shape than like the citizens of Limestone County and for us doing budgets here. So it makes it easier for us. So is there any questions that y'all have on this? Thank you for what you've done also.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm trying to thank you.
Thank Judge also. I know he worked out for one.
All right. We'll entertain a motion to approve this.
So moved. Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right, it passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. That was real good news. Let's go ahead then and get the folks that are here. We can maybe get you in now. So let's go ahead first and discuss and take action on resolution for the sale of tax foreclosed property. Mike, you want to present something to the commissioner? We're here to listen to you.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. I'm Robert Myers. I'm an attorney with the Curry Law Firm. I'm here with Ryan Black, who's the lead assistant with our law firm. And we're here seeking the Commissioners to adopt a resolution that authorizes when we collect the delinquent taxes for the county, periodically every now and then have to file a lawsuit against some of your property owners here to get the taxes collected and sometimes conduct tax sales in the steps of the courthouse. That occurs about 3 to 4 times a year when we have to actually have sales and foreclosures on properties for non-payment of delinquent taxes. Periodically, when those occur, sometimes we don't get anybody to buy the property because under the tax code requires the property be sold for a statutory minimum bid, which may at times be higher than we're actually able to get a bid for that amount of money. The law does authorize, though, that if we don't get a bid on a property, the taxing authorities, the county and any other school or city or jurisdiction that also taxes the property can have the property deeded to it, and then at a later time, they can actually resell the property on the steps of the courthouse in the same way that it was originally offered for sale, public auction, published in the newspaper 1 day a week, 3 weeks, but they can then at a later sale reduce the amount of the statutory minimum bid. So if the property has a minimum bid of $5,000, you can't get anybody to buy that for that amount of money. then we can come back and maybe offer for, usually we drop it down to 25% and see if we can't get anybody to buy it for a lesser amount of money. If not, we continue to decrease that bid. And so it's a very cost-efficient and effective way of getting those properties we call resold that are not sold initially at the tax sale. And it's all done on public auction, open to the public, published in the newspaper. Frankly, our firm represents the Groesbeck Independent School District for a number of years and the Hannah School District for a number of years. They've been using that process for the entire time that we've represented them for a long time. It's been very, very successful. Recently, we started representing the county, and I was going to bring to your attention that this is another mechanism that the county can use along with those school districts to effectively reduce any tax foreclosed property that we have out there. And we're very careful to make sure that those properties that we're deeming to be entities don't have any type of troublesome structures on them, issues that would be create such liability. These are basically just vacant lots or vacant tracts. And this resolution is authorized by the Texas Property Tax Code to allow the sheriff of Limestone County to resell these tax foreclosed properties. It's very similar to the resolutions Groesbeck School District and the Hannah School District have adopted.
Okay, any discussion on this? This is just saying that we're gonna take action to approve this resolution for the resale of this foreclosed property. Does anybody want to go forward with that?
I move that we approve the resolution for the resale of the tax foreclosure.
We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you get any work out of them?
Working on it. Very glad to have Ryan join our firm earlier this year.
This is the quietest I've ever heard of it. Must not have any pump codes.
We're working on that too. We're broadening our practice there. Tax foreclosure.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's go to item number 10, and that's an update from the extension office. We've got Donald Kelm here, but also David and Emily are joining, I think. So the show is yours. Morning.
Good morning. How are y'all? Thanks, Judge. As Judge said, my name's Donald Kelm. I'm the District Administrator for Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service for District 8, which Limestone County is one of my 21 counties here in District 8. This is my annual visit to give me the opportunity, one, in person, to let you know on behalf of Texas A&M AgriLife Extension how much we appreciate the continued support of the extension program here in Limestone County. I always bring a newsletter, and on the front, I highlight something that's going on across all 21 counties in District 8. On the back, I highlight and the opportunity for me to brag on Emily and David and what they're doing here in Limestone County. On the front this year, in all my counties that I started in February doing my annual visits, highlight Extension's efforts in COVID relief. Starting back last March, April, Extension was heavily involved in the initial onset of the COVID efforts. We're still very heavily involved. Last year, it started with the mobile testing sites at the governor, the military teams that were going out. Extension was the one that was resupplying those teams with supplies. We were the ones delivering the test kits, the clean kits out to the teams. We were the ones that were gathering the dirty kits coming in. I was in charge of the RSA in Austin at the TxDOT Flight Service Center, where those dirty samples were coming in from whether it be the game wardens, whether it be DPS planes, and we were the ones distributing, whether it was taking them to DSHS every morning at 6 o'clock. It was taking them to Scott and White in the evening to their lab at 11:30, 12 o'clock after we gathered them in, and then the number of PPEs and so forth that we delivered. You can see, I won't go into any details because you can read it, but at the same time, when the when the governor provided opportunity for child care providers to request PPEs through a survey, we were the ones that delivered those. There were child care providers here in Limestone County that we delivered PPEs to back last year once, at least once, maybe 2 and 3 times if they chose to participate in that survey. When the Governor Abbott, when he chose to provide PPEs to the election officials in each county prior to the elections, we were the ones that got the PPEs to every county. So you can see the efforts that were made by Extension, and it's still going on today with our agents that are assisting with the COVID efforts. The most important thing that I'm here for today is to let you know and brag on what David and Emily are getting done here in the county. In Ag and Natural Resources, you can look, and this is just a snapshot of what David's programming has been, whether it be private applicator training to allow landowners to get their private applicator license to utilize state and restricted use chemicals, the Blackland Income Growth Conference, which Limestone County is a part of that, has been as long as BIG has been going on. You can see the session that David was in charge of. Small Grain Field Day that was held, the Stalker Cattle Program, the Last Chance CEU Program, the OD Butler Field Day, the Spring Forage Program, the Summer Beef Cattle Management, which they just held this past July, the Syntex Beef Symposium, the Hay Show that's coming up. You can see it's just a snapshot of the programming that David provides for the producers here in Limestone County. Social media following, the Limestone Extension page, 1,000 followers and over 24,000 contacts. And then the Master Gardener group that David was able to start. You can see the total number of members, the invaluable resource that those volunteers are, and it helps extend our reach out in the county. Family Consumer Sciences, Emily's programming, again, a snapshot you can look at. Family Community Health, the training she's participated in, the Throwback Thursday program that they started. You can see how many that reached through social media. FCH programming, the Stress Less with Mindfulness program, the Multi-County Worksite Wellness program, Be Well, Live Well program that she did, then the Food Handler certification, and then the Limestone Medical Center program that she works with them on. The leadership opportunities, the District 8 Food Challenge, and that being able to be a member of the SHAC committee here in the county, the Texans Recovering Together, and those efforts. And you can see, again, none of this would be possible if it weren't for your support. And for that support, I can't thank you enough. Again, just a reminder, Wednesday, November 3rd is our annual Judge and Commissioners Conference in District 8. It will be at MCC this year again. Last year, due to COVID and the restrictions at MCC, I had to move it to Glen Rose. Judge Chambers worked with me in the expo up there. But we are scheduled to be at MCC again on Wednesday, November 3rd. It's been approved by TAC for 6 3/4 hours for commissioners. The topics are all set. Judge, I ain't convinced them to give y'all hours yet, but you're sure welcome to attend and enjoy the program and take part in the lunch for sure. And I can't thank Robert and his group at McCreary Law Firm. They're a sponsor and have been a sponsor ever since I've been around of that program as well. So
They gonna cook steaks?
you know what I've said before, I won't guarantee a quality program, but I'll put my neck on the line for that lunch. It'll be the same lunch that it's been since I've been around. So.
Okay, well, fantastic. Any other questions for him? Now, item number 11 here, the agreement between Texas A&M Labor Life Extension Service and Limestone County.
Basically, Judge, what that is, College Station, the director's office, saw the need to get a cooperative agreement / MOU, just a general MOU with each county. So they've asked us as district administrators to work with our commissioners courts to go and present the MOU to them. Again, just a general MOU, nothing changes. Basically spells out why do commissioners court choose to support AgriLife Extension and what the county's contributions are, what AgriLife's contributions are. Not a contract. Everything stays the same, nothing's gonna change, but it will come in handy when we get new elected officials in, and as we interpret what extension does, then we can give them a copy of it and say, oh, okay, this is why it's the ag statute from many years ago is why county support extension. When we talk about what the county supports here, it's lined out in that MOU. Here's what AgriLife supports in that MOU. One of the questions some of the counties have when it refers to county coordinators, basically that's David in this case. A lot of counties refer to them as department heads. In the MOU, that's county coordinator. Rather than having to bother y'all every year, College Station's asked that we look at a 5-year period. It can be whatever. I just put in y'all's that I sent to David, October 1 of 21 through September 30th of 2026. So if y'all have any questions, I'll sure be happy to answer them.
Okay, we'll need, have a motion and a second on this memorandum of understanding. Do I have anyone that would like to, make that motion? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? I will say that, David has got the master gardener going strong right now. And Emily, I want to thank her. She came to me and said, Judge, we're getting money. What do I do with this money? I thought she meant because she put it in her pocket. And that's not what she was saying. So we got that squared away. So, but we're having quite a few folks renting that annex out there, right?
Yes, sir.
And I know Emily's been very involved in that. Thank you very much. Any other comments? All right. Thank you.
And what I'll do, Judge, is when you sign it and get it to David, he'll get it to me. I'll get it to College Station for Dr. Hyde's signature. Once we have it completed, I'll get it back to you for the county files.
Okay.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you for the report.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Next item we have before us is to discuss and take action regarding Fort Walker presentation. We have Dixie Hooper here. Dixie, come on up and make yourself at home and tell us everything we need to know and don't leave anything out.
Well, that would take too long today. I've served on the board. I'm Dixie Hooper. Some of you may know me. I retired from the Texas Historical Commission as site manager to the reunion grounds about 5.5 years ago. I took a deep breath and I did this, and I said I care about Oak Fort Parker and I care about Limestone County, and it's my home. And so as a result, I began to volunteer as a non-paid staff person in many cases. And so currently I serve on some committees for Mahia. Judge Duncan got me involved with a hot funds committee, and now I know more than I ever thought I would know. And I also serve, this is just Friends of Texans for State Park, Texans for State Parks. I'm on their governing board. I also am involved with Fort Parker State Park. I serve on the board of directors for Preservation Texas, which I don't know if most of you know that. Bassett Farms is one of our historic sites here in Limestone County. Limestone County is rich in its heritage. I think it's underdeveloped. And Oak Fort Parker is, I would say, is gem for, and the reason I say that is I can't tell you how many times I would go do a presentation statewide, and I would be introduced as Dixie Hoover, site manager for Oak Fort Parker. So I would have to make a joke and say, well, if you want that, you're going to have to call Sarah. But today you're going to get reunion grounds. And so that happened frequently. If I go out of state and mention I'm from Mahia or Limestone County, oh, that's where Oak Fort Parker is. So Limestone County is statewide known for Oak Fort Parker. So the reason I volunteered to be on the board, I've been on the board about 4 years, the last 3 as president, is for long-term sustainability or its preservation. And that's what I care about. And I think it's worthy. And so the last 4 years, we've been thinking and discussing what does staff take. What we have come up with is what's not gonna be enough for it to be sustained long-term. And for the current amount of money that is received from the 2 cities in the county that govern it at $54,000, it's not gonna sustain it long-term. So if we know that, and we think that, what are our options? Well, our first option we went to was the Texas Historical Commission. And we've been watching them for at least 4 years. And the reason we chose to do it this January is the last legislative session, they were transferring another group of state parks, state historic sites from Texas Parks and Wildlife. So that's not a good year. They have been working to clean up a bunch of sites where they set a precedent of taking non-state historic sites and acquiring them. So watching what was a good year. And so we decided in January it's now or never. And so as we began with COVID and different things, what came back was they did a really good assessment. And as a staff member, I probably would have done the same assessment. What it gave us was a really good report we didn't have to pay for. And so it gives us a good foundation. But what they chose not to do was to go on to phase 2 for very specific reasons. I don't have handouts today that Judge Duncan, we've talked to him. I have some raw data that I pulled together I need to get to everyone. So I think today it's just opening the conversation. And for heritage management, a mental image that we can use is the shape of a diamond. And the top part of the diamond is the administration part, which is what we're talking about today. But I want to label the other 3 so we can wrap our mind around it, because what I'm fixing to talk about has to do with all of them. And it's a diamond, they're all directly linked together. So you balance. One side's preservation, and they're on the sides, administration, preservation, and public access. You have to balance these 2, because if you don't preserve it, you have nothing for public access. If you never have public access, what's the point? The bottom one is documentation research. It supports these 2, but it's also directly linked because sometimes you need money. And what we're really talking about today, if you can call it resources is money, whether you've got staff, whether it's preservation, whether it's programs. Up to this point, Oakville Parker has been governed by the 2 cities in the county. I truly do believe back in the 90s, that was the best choice. We're probably not going to get a perfect choice or a perfect option. What we're looking for is the best for the time that we're at. I don't think possibly we need to consider that 3 governing entities may be the best. If we continue it, that is an option. We can do that. But it does create some murky and ambiguous, confusing governance at times that could be cleared up. Right now, the revenue that's coming in to support the site comes $54,000 from the 3 governing entities. This site is amazing, and I've always thought it was amazing for what it does self-generate through events, facilities, rentals, donations that come in. It's to support the site and above that with such a small staff, but it's still not enough. One of the things we've got to look at is how do we increase revenue or funding to support the site? Up to this point, I think there are some things we could do more. One of the things Judge Duncan came out, and I talked to Commissioner Friday about, is that there are revenue generating aspects to the site that have not been fully developed, but yet you have to have staff or you have to have infrastructure to support it. And so it feeds upon itself. One of the things that we had talked about is there already are bed and breakfast type. The barracks are used, the 2 houses. There are RV sites. They're used primarily at this point to support events, which do bring in enough money to break even on the event and maybe get some seed money for the next one. But what's not happening is there's not enough for the deferred maintenance. And the problem is, if we continue at this rate, I'd say in my lifetime, under 10 years, we're going to end up with a problem for safety. And back in the days, there was some decisions made. If there's not enough money, it's not that we don't care. That's not it. I know that we do care. But you have to make decisions based on safety. And if you allow it to go too far, eventually you have no choices. So I would rather be proactive in my work as a heritage professional rather than reactive. Sometimes we are reactive. We have no choice. But sometimes we do have a choice to be proactive. And I think that's where we are right now. We do have a choice. And that's what I'm opening the conversation today with the county is I can schedule or coordinate any type of presenters you would like to have to talk about heritage tourism as a business, which Limestone County is not really tapped into that huge business at this point. Would you like to know how other counties are caring for sites like this? Evan Thompson is Executive Director to Preservation Texas. He could present on that. So there's many things that there's information you guys would like. One of the things that we talked about is there is enough land that you could put in a small RV site to generate revenue different than the ones that are there right now, and still not encroach upon the fort itself to where you compromise its historic integrity. So again, you're balancing all of this. And so sometimes you're looking at, are you looking for a way to generate visitation, which may or may not increase revenue? You're looking for revenue, which may not have anything to do with visitation, or maybe they're both. But right now, we need pure revenue coming in that does not compromise the fort itself. And so I am very open to some of this, and I'll throw anything on the table. Some of it we go, that's not gonna work. And then we come up with what's best. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's just opening the conversation that decisions need to be made, hard decisions at this point.
Well, thank you, Dixie. Let me just say that, as I understand it, the county, city of Mahia, city of Groesbeck are equal owners of the property out there. I guess that would include the fort, I'm not sure. It's kind of ambiguous.
Yeah, some of it's ambiguous. We need some clarification legally at this point.
But I know that I've looked at this and we visited with Commissioner Friday visited. It's easier to be proactive when you've got dollars.
Yes.
Sometimes you're more reactive when you don't have the money. You're actually fixing problems as they come up with what little money you have. I will say that Sarah Reynolds does a lot of work for a little amount of money in today's world, frankly speaking. However, as I see it, and you help me in DC if you think I'm wrong on this, within 2 or 3, 5 years, maybe 10 years, who knows, if we don't do something, and I mean the three parties, we're subject to lose our identity of Limestone County, which is the Fort Parker. And I anticipate one day we go out there and just say, we're gonna close these doors, and I'm sorry. We don't want that. I know you don't want it. I don't think any of the cities want it. So at some point in time, we have to try to figure out who is going to be able to take this bull by the horn and get going with it in a positive manner. And I think that's why you're here today, wanting to know if the county would be interested in kind of taking the lead on that.
Right.
It would be hard for us to do it without the blessings of the city of Mahia and the city of Groesbeck. We don't want to take over all the administration of it and make decisions without them. And so it's going to have to be a joint effort, in my opinion.
Yes.
And I think that's where we need to be. I think, frankly speaking, I think the commissioner and the city council of the other two entities need to have some form of a workshop and say, what are y'all willing to do? Can we find a way to use hotel motel dollars for this? I know one of the things that's going to be disappointing is having barracks out there where people can sleep out there, trying to use hotel motel money for that. That's going to be tough to do because that would infringe in on the motels. I know they would be happy about that. Nonetheless, I would hate to see us lose Fort Parker. I know as a small child going out there, as most of y'all have here, But there does come a time when we have to make a tough decision. I'm just hoping that time is not just now. I'd like to hear from the commissioners what y'all think.
Well, in our discussion, you know how I feel about it. I support it 100%. I think that if we lose it, we lose a large portion of what we are in Limestone County and the history of that. I know that we talked about going back and talking to some of the Congress and senators in our area and seeing what they can do to help along with the state to get them back on board to help us with that, because that would be huge for that. Setting up some with Mahey and Grosbeck to see where we need to go. Some people probably don't want to talk about it, or it might be extra added work to them, but I think that's something that we need to pursue.
In addition, for those that don't know what happened, y'all applied to the state to basically take over the operation before Park.
Right.
In the phase one assessment, what y'all found out is it's in real bad shape, and they were looking to almost $300,000 just to bring it up. Am I correct with that, Dixie?
More like million okay, so when you.
It was 274,000 just our
Yes,
part.
yes.
No, it would take more than that to get it done,
Right.
just on local, we'd have to come up with $277,000 just to make it work.
Right, so, yes, so basically when they looked at it, there's a whole 2-page criteria. And the criteria, one of the biggest criteria is it a real story? Is they don't take just anything. So if you read the report, it's very positive. It's a good story. It's not represented in our state historic sites that we have right now. It's a worthy story. And it's a real story. And what happened is it didn't come with any legislative funds like all these others that are being transferred, didn't have a big endowment like some of them to assist with the daily operations. So the bottom line was not the port itself. It was taking a site that came with no money and splitting their pie smaller for the sites that they're already taking care of, and not really having enough money all the time to do everything that's needed with those sites. So,
The point I'm trying to make though is,
Yeah.
had they accepted it,
yes,
we would still, I say we, Limestone County, somehow or another would need to come up with almost $300,000 just to get it moved to that sector.
they were looking for a partnership, yes,
Yes.
for the ones that they take
So-
on.
I appreciate the information. I think we probably need to put this off and get with the two cities and see if we can have some kind of a meeting to say, where are we?
Right,
Frankly speaking, they recommend that we have about they recommend having about a $220,000 budget for the year is what the state recommended. After looking at it, getting it down to real terms, I figured it'd be about 180,000 is what I was looking at. That we could make it work at 180,000. Not saying that the state puts a lot of fluff in things, but nonetheless. The bottom line is that we're only doing right at 60, a little less than 60, 54,000. And the other is being made up of about 50,000, maybe 60, but I think you'll have about $115,000 to $120,000 budget.
right,
So there's actually about a $60,000 difference on where we need to be. I'm not sure that the cities, in talking to them, they're ready to move that up, the amount that they're, but nonetheless, I don't think we have an easy answer today, but we certainly appreciate you bringing that to the forefront.
to start a conversation is
Start a
really all we're
conversation.
looking for.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thank you, Dick. Okay, we won't take any action today on that. We'll go ahead and move to item number 13. That's going to discuss and approve the profile software maintenance annual renewal for the sheriff's department. This is an annual contract that we do for the profile. Need a motion in a second to approve this. We have a motion in a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. And that motion will pass. Okay. Let's go ahead then and move to item number 14. That is discuss and or take action on the Texas Feeding Texans grant. This is basically the resolution that Limestone County helps out our senior citizen program to the tune of $75,000. I'm assuming that we do budget that, we budgeted it again for the next year. So the money, is there waiting October the 1st. I think they would love to get the money, in the senior citizens. So, and Bill, they're here on that board, right? Is there anything you want to add to that?
We make quarterly payments.
All right. Y'all want to keep giving money to the senior citizens? So do you have a motion and a second? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. The next item is to accept for record the U.S. Marshal IGA modification that we've gone over many times. The contract between the Limestone County Detention Center and the U.S. Marshal Service actually has to go to another government entity, which is Limestone County. They do pay us to do this. They pay us by paying the sheriff. They pay the auditor. They also pay a per diem per day for us to do this. One of the things we have to do is to update the different agreements. This has already been looked at by the South and approved. So with y'all's permission, or by virtue of a motion, we'll go ahead and approve this modification.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next item is discuss take action on pay down the comp time of the employees on a 24/7 coverage schedule. Basically, what's happened is, as of October the 1st, we're giving quite a bit of raises to a lot of folks in the county. We're long awaited raises and deserved raises. However, once we raise the money, any comp time we have on the books, that goes up then also. So I thought it might be wise to look at paying at least the people that are in a 24/7 type position, and that's going to be the jailers, the deputies, and the dispatch, to go ahead and pay that down so that we pay it at our current rate and not an increased rate on October 1st. Love to hear y'all's thoughts on that. Natasha, did you get us an amount?
For the deputies, you're looking at about 13,000, jail 15,700, and dispatch 4,000.
And that money we're going to be using out of the payroll line items because we are short, and we're short on every one of them. We're short of the deputy, well, maybe not the dispatch right now, but the jailers and the deputies, we've been short, so we had money left over at the end of the year, and we're going to use this money to pay that down. Anybody want to comment further on that?
From the excess money that's left in the salary lines.
We did, but we used other monies for that. So we used the Corona Relief Fund to pay that down, and we left it at about, I think the recommendation was 20 or 25 hours, 24 hours. But now the thought is that it'll be a bigger liability to the county if we wait and don't do this, because their pay is going up, and we'll have to pay it back.
Hopefully someday you'll get fully staffed and we will have this conversation.
You know, I hope so. I mean, you're always gonna have some comp time. We paid it, or y'all paid it down to 24 hours back in January. So we're 10 months in. I think other than like COVID, we're 6 deputies short, we're 7 jailers short. At times, we've had 3 and 4 and 5 people out of the time with COVID leave in 14 days. I think you couple all that in there, and if you look at those overtime comp hours, and we've done what we said we'd do and keep our hours down as much as we can.
But the money's budgeted, so it's 32,000 now. If you add 3% on that, plus the other increase that we gave, it could be as much as $40,000 or $50,000 after all.
I move we pay them the compensatory term. It's all exactly 4/7.
We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Just to clarify, the deputies, jailers, and dispatch,
Yeah, anybody or anyone that's on a 24/7.
24/7.
If someone's on 24/7, then I think they need consideration. Okay, let's go then to discussion and take action on the electronic console bid. This is from the dispatch. This is getting 2 more stations out there. We've already approved the money side of this, that through the Corona relief funds that we did earlier. And so we did get the one bid in from Huffman Communications, and we kind of thought that'd be the only bid that we would get in, since they're the ones that installed it. Basically, I think Matt's checked around, nobody else even knows what to do out there other than Huffman. Don't know what we'll do if they ever go out of business, but nonetheless, it's something that we've already approved, and
I budgeted for
we
next year.
budgeted it, so. Does anybody want to consider going ahead and making a motion on that console bid?
I make a motion that we go ahead.
Okay. We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? And that'll pass. Now then, let's take some salary adjustment changes. What in the world is salary adjustment? Okay, we got some, Matt, these are just for the certificates, if I understand correctly. Okay, these are some folks that have got their advanced certificates, and so their salaries will adjust a little bit. Something we encourage everyone to do. One of the things that it is real good on retention, and so any other discussion on this salary adjustment change?
Motion that. Second.
Okay. We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion will pass. Let's do some budget transfers next. First budget transfer we got is one for the maintenance department. This is to cover extra labor for training. As y'all know, we're going to talk about this in a minute, but we had to hire somebody in the maintenance area, and one of the areas that we did is so that we wouldn't lose someone and then immediately have to start training. We brought them in a few weeks earlier, and so we're needing this money here, $2,348 to pay for that. This is money that is in the contingencies, and so we need a motion to go ahead and do that.
No.
We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Anybody opposed? Now we got one from the county clerk of all places. Let's see what this is all about. She asked me not to make a big deal out of this, so I'm only going to talk for about 10 minutes on that. Okay, now the county clerk, they're needing some electronic signature pad that they use a lot. They need some more paper and commissioner's court folders. Looks like they're asking for about a $1,500 transfer of funds.
So moved.
We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, let's look at the fairgrounds. We did get the new disc in, the 8-foot disc in, so we are now prepared to get the other items out to Jerry Kennedy to get him to auction them off. This is a $7,000 drag that we've been planning on getting. We did get it this year. It's coming out of our contingencies, and so we need a motion and a second to
Second.
Second.
motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Okay, this next item is a memo to inform you that Sam Callis, of all people, is Sam Callis here?
Yes, here.
I don't know if I've ever met him or not. Sam has turned in a resignation. I didn't want to accept it, but I think we have to. I will say that since being appointed to this position back in June of 2018, there is one person in this entire county, whether it be any department, that you flat get your money out of, and that's Sam Callis. And I never worried about with Sam working. You knew he was working. He comes and kept me updated, and there's just some autopilots that you appreciate having, and Sam Callis is one of them. So Sam, I know the commissioners feel the same, but especially I wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, guys. Appreciate it. All y'all did to help me succeed in this job. Appreciate it a lot.
So we're going to go ahead and accept this today by a motion. And I'm curious who's going to make that motion. Because no one makes the motion, he's going to retire.
Well, Bobby, help me out.
I'll make the motion. Any opposed? No. Very good.
Thank you, Joseph, appreciate it.
Sam, if you don't mind, I'm gonna ask you to do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
If you'll wait for just a moment, we're going to adjourn, and then I'm gonna ask everyone to join us next door. We've got a little something for you.
I appreciate that, Judge. If you'll let me run downstairs, I've got a meeting in town. I'll tell these guys just to hold on.
Well, actually tell them it may take longer than that. Tell them about 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
If I know you, you'll step in here long enough.
Yeah, these guys are architects and engineers, so it might cost us a couple grand.
We already have a contract. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. So, got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. We stand adjourned, and please, everyone to join us, and wish you Sam good luck.
Whenever you stand over there.